Right now, Russia can fulfill its personal demands with volunteers or so-called volunteers. But this could actually be a problem, as Russia has not done any additional wave in its partial mobilization. And as paradoxically as it sounds, this could actually be a serious problem once Russia needs more men that it can't generate voluntarily, where it is forced to do another wave of mobilization. I'm going to explain to you in this video why this is a serious problem for Russia. According to the Ukrainians, the Russians are currently recruiting roughly 30,000 men a month. The Russians themselves claim more like 500,000 a year, so accordingly somewhat higher. But wherever the numbers are, if we compare it with the Western estimates of losses by the Russians, this shows that Russia can currently keep up with its demand. Not only do they recruit what they are currently losing along the front line, if we take the numbers, it should mean that they are actually able to increase their strength, to slowly build up reserves, to add more troops to the front line, to basically increase the size of their military. This has led to the Russians to allow them to not do a second wave of mobilization after the first one in September 2022. And at the same time, while this might sound great, it could be quite a big problem. The reason for that is Russia's decision to call up 300,000 reserves and then stick to that and not call additional ones is clear. Russia wants to limit the effects of the mobilization to a small part of the population, and those are basically given up. Like if the family members get mad about the government, it's a limited amount, and this all at the same time, it's not going to happen again that hundreds of thousands of men that could be called up are going to flee the country if it's only done once. And since then the population is being left alone, if they don't sign up for a contract, they are not going to go to the front line. So while this sounds awesome for the Russian side, should Russia at some point dry up its possibilities for volunteers, because the war is continuing in 24, 25, 26, or maybe even longer, and the potential volunteers start to grasp that they are going to be used as cannon fodder and that their chance of survival and getting out of the war is limited, should the Ukrainian side increase their strength to a degree that the Russians need more men that they can generate with volunteers, then they will be forced to do another mobilization wave. Now, they have done it before, so we could estimate, well, then it's going to be another one, but the problem would be much, much bigger. Right now, those who have been called up roughly 1.5 years ago have no perspective to ever come home again alive unless that war is won by Russia. In Ukraine, there was the kind of same problem, but the politicians are now facing that problems. Right now, the Ukrainian government will decide, the Ukrainian parliament will decide whether or not the mobilization is going to be limited to 36 months. So all you have to do as a Ukrainian volunteer, even though it sounds easy, it's probably still a massive challenge. But if you survive for 3 years, then you will be able to go home, whether the war is still continuing or not. So this gives hope to soldiers, especially once they're somewhat into their service. All I need to do is hold out another this amount of months, and then I'm done, then I will survive, then I'll be fine. On the Russian side, there's nothing this way. The mobilized personnel has no perspective of getting home unless it's is in a wheelchair or in a coffin right now, or unless it's as part of a victory parade in Moscow as Ukraine has been defeated. There is already growing unrest by the family members of those that were recruited, but as of now, Russia refuses to give them any hope of getting back. And if we look at the numbers of the Russian losses and the amount that was mobilized, we can probably estimate that at the very least 1/3 of those who have been called up has already fallen victim to Ukrainian shells or bullets. Whether they are invalids right now or whether they have fallen couldn't be estimated, but they have definitely already suffered serious losses in Ukraine. Now, if another wave comes, everyone that is then being called up knows, okay, I'm going on a trip with no return unless the war is won. If there was a hope, you would say, okay, they are calling me up and I don't like this, but at least if I hold out for 24 months, for 36 months, I'm allowed to go home. So that Russia has decided, that the Russian government has decided to not call up additional waves, to then relieve the first ones, to send them home, to not telling them, okay, all you need to do is hold out for that time, should lead to bigger problems, as now we are talking about soldiers that are being forced to go to the front line, unlike volunteers. They are or contract soldiers who have at least signed up. They are being forced while not having any hope for a lucky outcome, for a good end on their trip into the war zone. So any additional wave should lead to a massive drop in morale among those who have been called up. They are being sent to the front lines against their will, unlike volunteers, unlike contract Nikki, and they have no hope of ever coming home. So we should see another big wave of young people fleeing the country to avoid being called up. We should see called up personnel trying to hide, trying to avoid going to the front line. And once they are at the front line, the easiest way out, the safest way out, is probably just to raise your arms and go to the Ukrainians. So this should give the Ukrainians a significant advantage once that is, unless Russia changes its policies in time. That was already it from me for now in this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm. Leave a comment. What do you think about my conclusions? Do you agree or disagree? And if you're new here, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. Usually on this channel, we do a lot of situation reports about the current developments of the war in Ukraine. And obviously, this is directly connected. So if you don't want to miss out, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. This channel is only possible because of the support of viewers like you. If you like to support the channel, you can do so by the means in the description. Thank you very much to everyone already supporting this channel. And that's it from me for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back.